Ill Will Records. Well, you gotta look at Ill Will Records from its inception. Nas really just didn't know what he was doing with the imprint. You know, it's not that. See, people don't understand. Just because the artist may have money, the company may not have a lot of money, or the company can make money and the artist might not have that much money. So it's a lot of different scenarios that go into it. You're not gonna see. Ill Will Records was a great thought. What they would say, it's a beautiful dream. It was a beautiful dream, you know, and you would want it to work like to perfection. You're like so proud of it. You know, you honoring your homeboy, keeping his name out there. And naturally, you wanted to, take off. He been screaming ill will since his first CD. Ill Will passed in 92. And when he came out with I think the Nostradamus album and the I Am album, I think that's when the I Am imprint was created. So they was distributed through Sony/Universal. So at the first time, Sony was doing everything as far as all distribution and he had it used to have track masters signed with them, Salah Remy, the Architect Beats. Then you had LES, and the only artist they ever had signed to the label really was the Bravehearts and Nas. Nation never was signed with Ill Will Records. A lot of people believe Ill Will Records was, the imprint they were, but they actually wasn't. They like around I Am, Nostradamus album, and the first release on the album was supposed to be the QB's Finest project. That was gonna be the Ill Will Records goal, everything down the line. That was supposed to launch everything, but I think it appeared on the I Am and Nostradamus, the double CD, is when it made its debut. And when this introduction was done with the QB's Finest project. So I think the QB's Finest project went gold, if that. So the project didn't really do what they thought it was going to do, but it put a lot of people on. And Nas' dream was to put a label together where he could put out artists from his town, from Queens, and from Queensbridge, and they have a place to go. They would have a home. So, like I said, it's a beautiful dream. It was, and it gave a lot of exposure, and people didn't realize Nas didn't have to do that. He didn't have to put up Queensbridge Finest. He didn't have to put that project out. And I mean, this was tying the younger artists to the older artists. But there was so many venomous people in the game to the fact that they think their money is Nas' money and everybody else. So Stillmatic comes out. Does about 2 million in sales. That was their next release. and so on and so on. People were thinking, all right, it's 2001. Stillmatic came out. Nas is ruling. It's time for, the Bravehearts, Nation, and getting all these projects out, and these artists, they was waiting for him to make like a Rockefeller and bring all the people out. But it took so long to do because Nas couldn't get the job done. It was like it took a lot of work because, let me understand something. The distribution, when you have your own label, the percentages and the actual markup they made the interest rate kind of low for Nas. Like they were doing him a favor, but the manufacturing department, the manufacturing of the discs and all that, that's what was costing extra. And they were making up their money there. And it was a lot of money going out and wasn't a lot of money coming in to the label. Nas was an artist, so he was being paid as an artist, but he was making a little bit of money off of Illmatic, the Ill Will record label being signed there. And basically a Nas release was something to bankroll Ill Will Records. And the project suffered. I mean, they had really no leadership in there as a label. They had no operating system. Like, this is the manager. This is the the secretary. She answers the calls. There was no website set up. It was basically just in theory. They just talked it. So they didn't even have an office. So nobody really took it serious enough. And people just thought, well, we with Nas, it's going to happen. So he just started releasing things like remixes to Illmatic to Stillmatic, threw that out. Then he put out the Lost Tapes. Then Godson came out. He's just throwing out things that's going to keep the bankroll going in at Ill Will Records while he was working on his album. So when Godson came out and did what it did, you start seeing other things transpire. Now they had the revenue built up from Lost Tapes and the remixes and then the Godson album to finally have their first release that's not featuring Nas on Ill Will Records, which was the Bravehearted album with Jungle, and they had Wiz and Jungle at the time because Nation didn't get signed. He was waiting all this time, but it was a lot of red tape and they didn't get him signed. Then after Street's Disciple project came out like a year later, then the deal with Sony and everything else, they just parted ways. It was just too much to do and handle. And when Nas got his deal, he changed the name and relaunched Ill Will by the Jones Experiment. So that's his imprint, but now it's under Def Jam Universal. So now Def Jam is handling the distribution with Universal. So I don't know what kind of deal he got once it went to Def Jam and Universal, now that it's the Jones Experience. But from what I've been told, it's the same thing as basically what was going on with Ill Will. But hopefully now he's around more smarter people. They will negotiate a better deal for him than the first time around. So that's all I know about the Ill Will project. So as far as them putting the label together, like I said, it's a beautiful idea. You look at Rockefeller, it was mostly dudes from Philly. How many artists there were actually from like Marcy, Memphis Bleak, and G to K? That's about it. Besides that, everybody else was from Philly. I'm like, everybody was from Philly. I'm like, well, my goodness. Like, why? It's a lot of dudes in like Brooklyn that was rapping, like really putting it down. Why you ain't signing them? Rock is like, we going for what's hot. We ain't got time to just sign the dudes from our hood. We need that hot fire. So that's how it went down, man. So, yeah, that's it. It's your boy Carcino, man. Don't forget to subscribe, hit that notification button, and I'm out.